Hey everybody, welcome to 11 Questions. This is our first 11 Questions interview for the year 2026. And I'm sitting here with author extraordinaire Maurice Broaddus. Maurice, how's it going, man?
Hey, it's going well, but I need to just tell you up front. Look, I'm a busy man. I got stuff to do, so I'm gonna hold you to 11 questions, and I'm keeping track.
Well, I'll do the best I can to stay in this. I don't want to. I don't want
Uh,
to waste your precious time. So
my
we
my
can get this
precious
thing.
time.
So I want to start off by reading Maurice's bio. We had to take a look at a few of them because he has so many of them, and we want to find we want to find one that was succinct and informative. So this is the one we decided to go with. The resident.
Hang on. That does describe my writing, by the way. If anyone's wondering, it is succinct, and informative.
All right,
So
that's what I'm talking about.
I'm gonna go with that.
The resident Afrofuturist at Kepler Institute and editor at Apex magazine, his work has appeared in Lightspeed magazine, magazine of fantasy and science fiction, Uncanny magazine, and Beneath Ceaseless Skies, some stories collected in the voices of martyrs. His books include Unfadable, Pimp My Airship, Buffalo Soldier, and The Usual Suspects. And that's the brief description. If you want to find more, you can go to his website and gives a more detailed explanation of who this man is and what he is about and why you should know him if you don't already know him by now. I just want to start this off by saying, I have the privilege of interviewing people that I know well, and I've known Maurice over the years, um, and the worst thing you want to do is have me and him do something live. but
That part.
but we're going to try to keep it short and sweet, so we'll keep your attention going there. But I first discovered Maurice with the book, his Brexton Court book. That was
Oh.
when I first saw your work,
Mm.
and we met on social media. And Maurice has actually been very influential in a lot of stuff that I do. He was a contributor to one of the first, actually the first anthology I ever did, Griots, and he is the man that is the reason why we call steampunk, because that came out of a conversation that Maurice was a part of, and he was the one that brought that up. And every time I tell that story, everybody laugh when I say that he had a book out, a story that about out at the time called "Pimp My Airship." So that is like, that's how we always get a laugh on that. But yeah, he's been, like I said, throughout the years. We've worked together, we've talked together, and I've had the opportunity to see his writing career grow over the years, and have been very impressed, and I can say very proud of what he's been able to do over the years and stuff like that. So let's get these questions going because
Okay.
again, Maurice has already told us that his time is precious, and
Precious.
we don't know we don't waste any of it. So um,
But
my
I'll
first,
say this though. We'll say this though. It's been like my honor and privilege to be working with you for all these years. Because I feel like in a lot of ways we've had the chance to just grow alongside each other, grow together, and so that's the way I've always looked at
that is true. That is
it.
true. I mean, we've been like, we've been in these streets together.
Right.
And it's been, and I think we take a similar perspective on
Yeah.
how we do things and stuff. And I
Right.
want to kind of cover that a little bit too.
Okay.
So, but my thing is, I guess my first question is, which the question I always ask people is, um, what brought you to writing? What made you want to make
Mm.
writing and creativity a major part of your life?
Ooh. Um. I'll try to give an abbreviated version of this answer because I mean it goes back to when I first moved to this country. So I was actually born in London, and then I moved from London, England, to a town called Franklin, Indiana. Which no, don't try. You can't picture it. I saw the wheels go, and I'm like, nah, brother, just don't. Mm-mm. You ain't gonna get there. He was like, Franklin, carry the one. Nah, you ain't. Um, and so the teacher did. So the school system actually didn't know what grade to put me in. And so they went ahead and skipped me into second grade, and they were just like, oh, we should probably put him in third, but he was already, well, I was already the smallest and youngest kid in the class and only black student because Franklin, Indiana. Um, and so the teacher sort of put me in the back of the room and just gave me a stack of paper and said, look, just create stuff this year. And so and I didn't realize it at the time, but that's sort of what it gave me sort of like the discipline and the learning the love of practice of writing. But it wasn't until I got to college, um, and I've been like I said, I've been writing since second grade anyway. But when I got to college, since I was the first person in our family to go to college, my mom wanted me to major in something quote unquote respectable. Because I'd already announced I wanted to be a creative writing major. She's like, no, you're not. No, you're not doing that. Um, and so our compromise was I was a biology major.
Yeah, okay.
And so for the first 2 years of college, I quit writing. And I think that gets to the heart of the questions you asked me, which was when did you learn that was going to be an important part of your life? That was when I learned it was going to be an important part of my life because in those 2 years that I gave up writing, I felt like a piece of me was missing. It's like not quite being able to breathe right, and that's what it felt like. It's just like something is not right. I'm off kilter. I'm off center. I don't know what's going on, and I realized I had quit writing. So after 2 years of college, I picked my pen back up and just started writing on the side. On the side, I started taking creative writing classes on the side. As part of my electives and all kind of stuff, just to get that rhythm back. And just like, no, this is a part of who I am. And I wouldn't have learned it if I hadn't quit writing. I wouldn't have learned it. I have to write.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I know what you're talking about as far as the college and respectability. That was the kind of same thing coming up in, where we were in the South, and oddly enough, in my family, one of those respectable professions was being a teacher or something like that, because that was something that was really important at the time, being in education. And it's
Right.
funny that you said you're a biology major because I'm a chemistry major, so
Yep.
we got this science thing going
Yep.
on.
Sounds about right.
So the fact that you were born in London, does that have anything to do with the fact that when your first book, I think when it was published in England? Was it?
Actually, no. But it does. Yeah, there's sort of. Oh man, I hadn't even thought about that. But yeah, there was a sort of synchronicity there because that was through Angry Robot, and I actually got to them through my contacts here in the States as a part of Gen Con,
Hmm.
which is a gaming convention that
Yeah.
and yeah, which I now help run. But
See, it's growth.
right, a lot. But some folks from there was able to start Angry Robot, and that first wave of Angry Robot authors were all the bulk of them were from Gen Con game writers,
Hmm.
and so that's how I got there. But now you're right. Looking back, I'm just like, ooh, man, yeah, it does make sense. That my first book published was England.
So when we talk, we're talking about writing and how you realized that this was something that you had to do. When you had the absence of it, that says, oh, this is what I really have to do. But was the fact that you had a science background was what led you to doing like science fiction and fantastic fiction and stuff like that, or was that something that was always there?
Um, it's funny because when I first started writing, and the first half of my career easy was spent as a horror writer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and I think the first time and so a lot of the times in my horror stuff, I was either working out stuff in my life, in my personal journey, or I was working out like faith related questions
Hmm.
in a lot of my horror work. And the first time I think I actually incorporated science even into my horror writing was my first story that Apex Magazine published, and it was called Broken Strand.
Okay.
And it was all about a serial killer and their genetic code, basically.
Mhm.
So for the most part, I was just like, man, I hadn't really consciously put science into any of my work, and then then my career took a science fiction twist, and so now I found myself writing a whole lot of science, but like I said, my degree is in biology,
Mhm.
but a lot of the science I end up incorporating into my work tends to be like theoretical physics. So it was like, okay, yeah, this is where we are. Literally my worst subject in school is what is the science I'm incorporating in my work.
It's kind of a challenge thing,
Right.
I can do all this other stuff. Let me try to do something.
Let me see what I haven't done yet.
Glutton for punishment type of
Hmm. Hmm.
thing. So when we talk about, give us kind of a I'll say a synopsis of your writing and publishing journey. Um, as far as was the Brexton Court, was that the first book that you published?
So, okay, let's
Because I know
see.
it's been re-released now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just re-released it.
Hmm.
Um, so first book. So not technically. So leading up to them, um, I think I had four novellas published before then. Um, I know I had Devil's Marionette, no, Orgy of Souls, Devil's Marionette, Bleed with Me, and I could have sworn there's one more, and I'm pretty sure there's one more, um, but that escapes me right now. So technically, I had three or four novellas published before then, but yeah, Night's Breeding Court. So that was three books. So book one was Kingmaker.
Hmm.
So when Kingmaker, King's Justice, and King's War. And that was why I called my Knights of Breton Court trilogy.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so it was, so I had three novellas published before then, and then those were my first official books published was that trilogy.
Hmm.
Um, but those weren't the first books written. I had four full novels done before then.
Oh, okay.
And so the way I look at it is fifth time's a charm. So so fifth novel written, first novel published. That's the way I look at it.
So we both, like I said, we both been at this for a long time. It's been, years and stuff like that. And how would you describe your journey in publishing?
Hmm.
Especially being a black author,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and specifically being a black male author. How do you feel like that has affected your journey to where you are now? I mean, people are looking at your work, they're seeing your work now. We've seen Pimp My Airship come out as a short story, now it's a novel. And
Right.
we see the Astro Black series, and a lot of times with most authors it's like overnight success, 20 years in the making, uh,
Right.
that
Right.
kind of thing. So how do you see your journey from then when you first started writing and publishing, and how it is now, and kind of like in a way, how have you seen the publishing industry change, or has it changed?
Man,
um,
you're cramming a lot into one question. I ought to count that as two separate questions.
so that means, what's that, like 5 questions now, something like
Yeah, yeah, you're on five, and I'm thinking it's five and six, frankly. Um, so let's see. So my journey, and then what's changed. Uh, hmm. So like I said, the first 10 years of my career, easy, was as a horror writer. And so, but see, here's my thing. My first love is short stories. Short stories are my first love. That's
Mhm.
what, if you leave me alone, I'm just going to write short stories because that's what I love to do. Right. And the main reason I started writing novels was because early in the journey, in my journey, a friend of mine said, "Look, I know you love short stories." And I think at this point I had like maybe half dozen, somewhere between half dozen and a dozen short stories that have been published at this point. He goes, "I know you love short stories, but with rare exception, you can't make a career as a short story guy. If you're gonna, if to make your mark, you need to have a book in front of you with your name on it." He goes, people just look at you different when that's the case. Uh, so that's literally what caused me to start producing longer work was that. Um, but in the years that so then I'm starting to do the thing, but like I said, I'm still trying to make my mark as a horror writer, a short story writer. Um, and so I'm starting to go to conventions, for example. So I think I went to my first conference in 2002, the World Horror Con. Go to World Horror, and I was one of five black people on the scene. Because I remember it because like me, Cheshire, Wrath, Wrath James White. Okay, let me say the full names: Dr. Cheshire Burke, me, Wrath James White, Linda Addison, and Tanana Reeve Dew. Um, And I remember, so I was like, oh wow, we can, oh, on one hand, huh? And then it was a few years later when like barely a few years later when when I met some others, but like I just distinctly remember that first con and me trying to survey the scene, and it was like five of us.
Mm.
Um, and so there were a lot of instructive things that happened during that time. So and all those folks, I'm still rocking with today,
Yeah.
every last one of them.
Yep.
Um, but Dr. Burke, it's painful to admit. She might be my best friend.
Yeah. I see you guys
It's
do a lot of work together.
Yeah, but you don't see the constant squabbling between us like non-stop. We can't yeah, it's it's non-stop. It's brother and sister energy, but
Hmm.
it's non-stop brother and sister energy.
But that's
And
when you know
so
somebody's your best friend. That's when
right, I know, right?
you
I
know
know.
you can say anything to each other, and you don't take anything personal, but because it's just you just got that relationship.
You just got that relationship. I mean, Lawana Moore, Lawana Holland Moore, because we met her. Well, I met her a couple years later, and she went around us like 15 minutes. She's like, "All right, do I just have to separate you two? What is going on right now? What is this? What is this? And are you like this all the time?" And we're like, "Yes, yes, we are." In fact, I'll say this: when at one point, uh, Cheshire signed with my agent at the time, and and I remember soon after she signed with her, um, my agent gives me a call and she goes, Maurice, I just had a conversation. I'm like, okay. She goes, with Cheshire. And I'm like, okay. She goes, Cheshire made the condition in our contract that no matter what she signed for, no matter what deal I got for her, whatever she signs for has to be more than whatever you signed for. And she's like, is this what it's gonna be like working with the two of you? And I'm like, yeah, this is pretty much it. This is life with us, by the way.
That's hilarious.
Uh, but I bring that up because at the very beginning of our friendship, we held each other accountable.
Hmm.
And so it was like, so we made this pact. It's like, all right, so we're gonna walk through these spaces on our terms. Um, but we will only do work for professional rates. We are absolute professionals, and we're gonna make sure everybody treats us like professionals. And if they don't, we walk. And we're gonna hold each other to that standard.
Hmm.
And so there were plenty of times when someone would want us to, ask us to write a story for them and offer us like 3 cents a word when pro race was five, and we were just like, nah, can't do it. And these were guaranteed sales, and we were early in our careers, and they were like, no, can't do it. When you can pay professional rates, happy to work for you. And then the ironic thing was, I had several editors who would then come back a year or so later and be like, "Hey, I can finally afford to pay professional rates. Would you write for us?" And I still only got 4 credits to my name, right? So I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll go ahead and write for you then. I can commit to that now. Um, but I couldn't have done that if I didn't know Cheshire would be behind the scenes going, "Bro, what you doing over there? That's not what we do." So yeah, and so it was instructive one to hold each other to professional standards, but also the whole idea of like, I can't do this alone. We can't do this alone. That was my first lesson. And no, it's not me walking through the spaces. It's we walking through these spaces,
Yeah. Hmm.
right? And so that was the first bottom line lesson of things. Another major lesson was the importance of our voice, our voice. Period.
Hmm.
Because one of the things when the early battles was editors trying to change our work. How could you rework this character? Could you change how this character speaks? I don't get this reference. Da, 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 da. Can you write to the market? That sort of stuff. And it's like, I am writing to the market. Oh, you mean write to white people? Oh,
Yep.
because I think that we are also part of the market. It's just not a market you consider. So
Yep.
I am writing to the market, but it's just that learning to sort of hold your ground, especially in those early days dealing with some of those editors, which then translate that over time, because that battle doesn't change.
Yeah.
It's just that muscle to fight back and to stand your ground. That muscle's just gotten stronger,
Yeah.
to the point where like folks can ask me to like, hey, can you write for this property? And I'm like, what is the blackest story I can write in that property? All right, let's go. That's almost literally the lens I come at it from here anymore. So when you talk about what's changed, it's like the more things change, the more they stay the same. Now, one of the things I am proud of is, we go to, fast forward to just StokerCon just a couple years ago, or even Gen Con in the last year or so, or some of these other cons. It's like, no, there ain't five of us on the scene anymore.
Hmm.
It's a family reunion anymore.
Yep.
And so that's one of those things. But and that's not so much that the times have changed as much as, oh no, we you let us in, we will create spaces for each other.
Exactly. Hmm.
So it's not the industry has changed
Yep.
because they ain't always happy that we're here. Um, but we create these spaces for one another.
Exactly.
So it's not even I'm publishing. It's, hey, I got my foot in the door, but that means the door's cracked open. And they're like, come on through. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
and I think that's, I mean, you said a number of things that I think are very important. Having other writers to work with, having that support system to keep each other accountable, is
mhm,
something that I talk about sometimes. And also the fact that, holding your ground on things and making people respect you and treat you and give you that same respect they would give anybody else. And
right.
it's right. Sometimes it means walking away from stuff.
Yeah. Well,
And
and sometimes, I remember, I'm not naming names. I'll hold, because it's not even worth, frankly, it's not even worth remembering their names. But there were plenty of folks, these so-called gatekeepers of the genre and stuff like that. And sometimes they'd flat out say, I'm gatekeeping and got to make sure that da, 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 da. And so that I'm like, yo, this is now a new lesson for me to learn, which is because I know a lot of people are like, oh man, I can't stand the gatekeepers of the genre or gatekeepers, da da da, da. And I'm like, nah, I love gatekeepers. I love gatekeepers. Because you know what? One of the things I realize is gatekeepers, they guard a fixed position. So you are so busy guarding this gate. And I'm like, I don't think in terms of gate. Because I can go around the gate, I can go over the gate, I can go under the gate, but you're still stuck there at the gate. So you keep doing what you're doing over there, but I will go right around you in a heartbeat. And so many editors have been like, "Well, whoa, how'd you get over here anyway?" And I'm just like, I don't know what to tell you, but you guard that gate. Go ahead.
you stay right where you are.
You stay right where you are, right where I can see you. You good.
Another thing that I would talk about, because again we're looking at this from the same perspective, the time passing by is, um, and now it's the buzzword in what we do. Let's talk about Afrofuturism.
Mm,
I remember, when it was not a term that was used in to describe what we were doing creatively in the genres and stuff. And now it's the term that describes everything. How have you seen it grow from your perspective, and how do you feel, about where it is now and where it's going?
yeah, yeah. Um, so the first time I heard the term Afrofuturism, I think it was what, 2017, I think. Whenever Voices of the Martyrs came out, my collection.
Mhm.
And with Voices of the Martyr, I wanted to sort of create this collection of my work that sort of spanned what I was trying to do as a writer and as a creative. And so I had some stories set in the past, some stories set in the present, some stories set in the future. It was mostly my horror stuff, but then there was a little bit of fantasy mixed in. Well, yeah, it was a little bit of fantasy because worked with you. So there's some fantasy stories in there, and then there's some science fiction stories in there. And so, but when the reviews start coming out, and that collection got to mostly very positive reviews. But the lines that caught my interest was they kept saying when Maurice starts with the stories of the future, the collection jumps to a new level because he that his work as an Afrofuturist really pops, and I'm just like, an Afro what now? So that was a new one on me. Um, and I looked it up, and I was just like, oh, black sci-fi, black spec fic. Oh, yeah. I get it. I get it. I get what you're trying to say. Yeah, yeah. I'm perfectly fine with that. Um, but then later the Black Panther movie drops.
Mhm.
And then suddenly Afrofuturism, like you said, becomes the new buzzword to describe what we're doing.
Mhm.
But by this point, I'm digging into the history of this word and the history of the work at this point. And so then I'm just like, no, wait, this is describing the work that we've always done. That we did this work long before the term came around, because the term only came around in '93. So, but this is the work we've always done as a people. Anytime we imagine ourselves, I'm paraphrasing Tananarive, but the act of imagining ourselves into the future is the first act of resistance,
Mhm.
right? And so it's like this is the work we've always done. We've always dreamed of ourselves in tomorrow.
Yep.
Um, and so and so I think the term works on two levels, right? So on the one hand, it's an easy catch-all term that says, "Hey, black people doing spec fic, Afrofuturism," and that definition is fine for a lot of folks. But it actually operates on a second level, and this is the level I think people tend to miss. Is like, no, it's also a social practice. So it's not just a term for the genre work that we do; it's a term that covers our actual practice. So you and I've already talked about how, oh no, we do our work with a sense of community. We do our work with a sense of accountability. We do our work for something greater than ourselves. That's the practice of what we do. That's beyond the pew 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 of our stories.
Yep.
It speaks to the heart
Yep.
of the practice of how you and I operate in spaces.
Mhm.
And I think when I look about how that term has blossomed and grown, it's because more people are going, wait a second, there's more than just that term. It's like how does it shape how we move through these spaces together? And I think that's what I think that is what I think that's why the term hasn't exactly gone away. It could have been the fad of the moment, but yet it seems to be sticking and digging deeper, and it's evolving.
Yeah.
Right. So
Mhm.
you see the stories evolving, you see the art authors evolving, you see the practice evolving, you see the impact of the art on the social practice and its ramifications in the community and that work in the community inspiring, new stories and things like that. So you see this all this sort of spiraling and working together, as we all grow with it.
Yes, it's like we've come from a point where we had this term and we looked to see what we could fit what fit the description to where now you have authors and creators coming out that are specifically saying I'm an Afrofuturist writer
Hmm.
and this is what I'm creating. When I think about it, I always think about Yatashi Womack
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
that was where she came from day one,
Right.
and that's where she's been in that thing. But this discussion about Afrofuturism also brings me to your Astro Black series because that is a series that's rooted
Yep.
Afrofuturism.
Yep.
For those who probably haven't heard of it, which I'm trying to figure out why they haven't. Why don't you give us a little give us something, tell us a little bit about that and about that series and how it came to be.
Hang on. Well, I need you to frame that in the form of a question. 'Cause I see you being slick over there. I see you being slick. No, ask me a question.
What? I thought I did ask you a
No,
question.
no, no. There was not a question mark in that entire statement.
Okay, I'll give you a question. Okay,
Okay,
what is the Astro Black series all about?
there we go. Question number 8 for those keeping track at home. All right, so
It's a good thing we're not drinking while we're doing this.
man, and I came close. I was like, oh, do I want to do that on the show? No, no. But if Gerald was here, I can
Oh,
guarantee
oh,
you, I was
oh,
like, no,
we be off
okay.
the rails then,
Right, right.
huh?
All right, so Astra Black, got you. And so Astra Black, I mean, it was a twofold thing. So um, I was asked to pitch a novel, pitch a novel I did to an editor, and I pitched. Basically, it's about a female military unit going off to explore space as an all-black unit, and they were going to go off to exploring stuff in space. And that was actually the original premise of Astra Black. And then I started doing I was like, well, what sort of world would come from, what would the world look like that would send these women into space, da, da, da. Um, and so what ended up evolving as I'm doing the world building for this series, right? I'm grounding it in the work that I do at the Kepler Institute. So going back to your previous question, I'm the Kepler Institute's resident Afrofuturist. And the way, and this is what I mean by it being part practice, which is like many organizations have futurists on staff. People who can help, spot trends, navigate, navigate what's coming up next, that sort of thing. It's just as an Afrofuturist, I'm doing that specifically through a Black lens, right?
Okay.
And so I'm the resident Afrofuturist. I'm working at the Kepler Institute, and so the world of Astro Black literally becomes a community question. It's, hey, what could the world look like on our terms? If we were to recreate and build our own society with a blank page, which is the important piece, with a blank page, what could it look like? And that ended up spurring a lot of community conversations. Me and my neighbors just talking and dreaming and like, hey, what could the school system look like? Hey, what could policing look like? Hey, what could a new economic system? What could that look like? Uh, what would governing ourselves look like? What would the importance? You take art, you take science. What sort of preeminent roles could they have in society? What would it look like to have like teachers being the career aspiration? Like, oh man, maybe one day I might be able to be a teacher. And build a society with these sort of priorities, right?
Mhm.
And so this is the world that started to be built. Um, and so which sort of reshaped what obviously what the trilogy would look like. And so the very much the world of Astro Black is, hey, what does it look like, a world created on our terms, or what a possible world created on our terms, what could that look like?
Mhm.
um and then back to that idea of art inspiring community and community inspiring art, because there's a lot of it there's a lot of times when it's like, oh, with those same neighbors go, wait, why can't we put some of this into practice now?
Yeah.
And so then you start having some of these community practices where they're starting to, where folks are putting these things into practice now. How can we work towards this now? That sort of thing. So Astra Black is the name of the overall arching series, but it's 3 books. It's a Sweep of Stars, Breath of Oblivion, and A City Dreaming, which comes out in a couple months, I believe.
Okay.
I believe it comes out in May. A City Dreaming, book 3. The titles of each of the books is taken from a Langston Hughes poem called Stars,
Okay.
which tells you just how deeply rooted this whole series is.
Hmm.
Every name means something, every phrase means something. I'm drawing on history, I'm projecting in the future. All that's almost a neurotic level of detailed world building that goes into this series. I ain't gonna lie. There is that. But you're right. It was me saying, all right, if I'm going to do Afrofuturism, this is what Afrofuturism looks like. And guess what? It's going to be challenging because one of the overarching themes for the book is, what does community mean?
Yeah.
We toss that, speaking of buzzwords, we toss that buzzword around a lot.
Yeah.
But what does community mean? And that definition changes from person to person.
Hmm.
And so I know I get a lot of complaint about this from readers because they're just like, "Ah, it was so hard to get into because you keep switching the person that you're telling the story through." And I'm like, yeah, because the way I view it is the community itself, which is the community of Muungano. That is actually the protagonist of the story, is the community itself. It's the story of that community is told through different persons as we're going through the trilogy.
Yeah.
But each character's voice reflects their relationship to the idea of community.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the story, Sweep of Stars open up, and it says your name is da 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 da. Well, it's because that character, their relationship to community is, oh, I feel a part of community, but I feel kind of distance for community. I want there, but I'm just not quite there. So their story's told in second person. There are some people who, I am a part of community, but I can't see past the lens of me. So that story's told in first person. Their stories are told in first person.
Okay.
For the bulk of community, they're just like community's community. So that's a third person. But then there's another level of there's some people who cannot see themselves outside of the idea of community. So their story is told in third person plural. We do this. We do that. Um, Actually, once I explained that to folks, they're like, "Oh, shoot, hang on, let me go back and read it. Maybe it's not as hard as I thought it was." Like, yeah, it's not that hard. It's just a little jarring at first. Once you realize it, it's like, "Oh, okay, I get it, I get it, I get it." But that's I was trying to experiment a lot with that series. I was trying to push myself as a writer to go, "Hey, you know what we have this genre. How can we push it, or how can I push it?" And so that's literally what I was trying to do with the series.
And the whole concept of community is something that's always been important to us as a people, especially now, currently.
Mhm. Right,
Because and I think about that is because that has been our strength. That's what has allowed us to endure and
hmm
evolve and make progress despite all of the things that we've had to deal with. Is having that community
right,
um, and just a little. If there's anything that might be seen as something positive in the situation that we're in now, is that it's making us refocus on that.
right, right.
And
Well, and these things are written in the context of the history they're written in, and so there's very much where I'm sitting here going, thinking through the like Sweep of Stars. So now Sweep of Stars, which the world building started pre this administration, is when the world building started. So what does it look like to build this world on our terms? Da, da, da.
mhm,
Breath of Oblivion. All right, so we've built this culture on our terms in book one. In book two, was it in Breath of Oblivion? What does it look like to carry that culture with you, no matter where you find yourself, no matter what the circumstances you find yourself in? And so, like, some characters have been falsely imprisoned. Some are lost on the other side of a wormhole. Some are caught between warring alien factions. Some are on Earth battling against Earth, trying to reclaim the space and sort of, I don't know, cosmic gentrification, we'll call it. So we have all
like
these
that.
sort of political forces, arrayed against the community. But what's it look like to take the culture with you no matter where you find yourself? But then in book three, all right, you know what? What does it look like to use culture as our main weapon? The culture itself is our weapon. The culture itself is our main strength. What does it look like to use that strength against the forces we find ourselves up against? So very much me meditating on the times we find ourselves in.
Yeah, I mean, listening to you discuss it, I mean, if I was watching this video myself, it's like if I haven't gotten into this series yet, I would want to.
Mm,
Because it's almost like back in the day. It's a little short story. When I first um listened to the Purple Rain album by Prince, I did not
mm,
like it
right.
because Prince always changes stuff up, and I'm like, what is going on here? Because that was one thing about it. Every album was like different. Then I
Right.
watched the movie, and it made sense.
Yep. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it became my favorite album. I'm like, because now I'm sitting up here, I'm up here with my lighter up singing Purple Rain and stuff like that. So that kind of thing like that. And to hear you explain the roots of the story, I can see somebody saying, okay, I may have been confused by something, but now I see what's going on here, and now I
Right.
look for
Right.
these things. It's the same thing to me. Um, and just another explanation, when I first started listening to jazz, there were certain jazz artists that I listened to their music and I really didn't get into until I heard somebody explain what that artist was trying to achieve.
Mm,
And then I went back to that music educated,
right. Right.
and now it was entertaining to me because now I knew what I was listening to.
Right.
That kind of thing. That's
Yep.
pretty cool. I like that. I like that.
Oh, all right. So I'll respond to both of those points because both of those tie into this question still. Um, so with Prince, for example, so I've been studying a lot of Prince lately. For the last year or so, I just did a deep dive into his catalog, into his creative practice. And then while I was in that deep dive, I ended up writing a story inspired by Prince, the set in this Astro Black universe. So it's a separate story. I've like about a dozen or so stories, in addition to the novels, another dozen or so stories that are written in that same universe. And I remember finishing that story, and I'm just like, this story. It's one of those stories. I'm like, I mean, it did eventually sell, but it's like one of those stories. I'm like, I'm writing this one just for me, because it's literally about an artist inspired by Prince versus an artist inspired by Rick James, and them carrying their beef to the other side of the galaxy. And I'm just like, okay, all right, that no one's gonna get this joke but me, but I'm writing this story. Um, and then, but then back to jazz. Jazz was fundamentally part of the world building of the Astro Black series,
Oh, okay.
because we go back to that definition of Afrofuturism. And Afrofuturism, again, that surface definition, it's like, oh, it covers genre, but yeah, that stops short of the definition, because Afrofuturism is literature, but it's also film, it's also um, clothing, it's also music, and visual art. And then in terms of music, the two big well, not even two big names, but foundationally, we got obviously Parliament Funkadelic, which has been a huge influence on my entire career. But also, we have the music of Sun Ra and Sun Ra and the mythology of Sun Ra. In fact, the mythology of both those groups is woven intricately into and fundamentally into the Astro Black universe. In fact, so much so, the starships in the Astro Black universe are powered by jazz music.
Oh.
That's how they are powered. Um, and jazz becomes an important leadership tool, a leadership development tool, because the whole idea of improv, for example,
Yeah.
that all leaders need to be trained in improv as a part of how they develop as leaders. And so that all, just a little thing just woven into the series for that reason.
That's amazing. That's that's intriguing. And I mean, like again, like I said, if you're sitting listening to this interview, you hear this, you know, your sales might jump. I don't know
I'm counting on it.
if they can
That's
jump
why
behind it.
that's why I agreed to submit to 11 questions, and you're up to nine, just so you know.
So um your career, I mean, like I said, I've watched you grow. I watch your stuff and been, like say, hey, go Maurice, it's like that. And you're at the point where I want to bring this up. I don't know if what y'all are doing would be in the speculative fiction realm, but it is part of your growth as a creator that you're working with Wayne Brady now.
Hmm.
And how did that come? How did that come to happen? How did that how did that relationship begin?
Um, Pretty much the same way ours did. So Wayne, the term Afrofuturism starts popping. Um, and so Wayne, so Wayne's a huge reader. He's a huge reader. I'll just say he's one of us, and he's one of us, one of us.
Okay.
And so and the term Afrofuturism starts popping off, and so Wayne's just like, all right, let me go read these Afrofuturists. So he just starts researching everything. Comes across my name, does a deep dive into me, finds the Knights of Breton Court books,
Ah.
and
Ah.
at this point they're out of print, but he finds them, reads them, and then does a tweet that says, "Hey, Maurice Broaddus just read Knights of Breton Court. I'm a huge fan."
Okay.
And I'm just like, "Oh no!" Now, and don't get me wrong, yeah, I screen captured that tweet because I was untouchable that week. And in fact, I thought about putting on some t-shirts and going like, "Ha, Wayne Brady's a fan of mine." Um, and then my wife's like, "Yeah, someone's catfishing you." I'm like, whatever. But then because he reaches out and it's like, hey, would you ever have time to get together to chat and talk about some ideas and stuff? And I'm just like, would I have time? I can set this classroom on fire right now. I'm good. I will clear my schedule. Um, and so yes, we end up talking and everything, and I, yeah, obviously I'm a little skeptical because Hollywood types. And so I start talking about, different writers who've influenced me and different books I've been reading that I've been enjoying. And like literally he would go, I'd mention a title and he'd go, you mean this book? And then we get to talking and I say something else. He go, you mean this book?
Wow.
And I was like, oh, he's a real one. Okay. Okay. And so now we'll bounce back a bit to that idea of community, right?
Hmm.
Um, because the way I've looked at quote unquote networking, which I hate that phrase because I don't network. People say, Maurice, you're a great networker. I'm like, I'm not a great networker. I do make friends though. And if I make a friend, hey, you know what? Friends find excuses to work together.
And that's true.
Absolutely true. That's why people ask me, how do you work so much? It's like, I don't work at all. Now I hang out with my friends and
Yep.
stuff may come out of it.
Yep.
I ain't working. And so Wayne and I we started working together. Uh, we had a couple stories come out. In fact, our first story published was because one of Wayne's favorite writers is Jonathan Mayberry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Uh, yep. And so, and I was just like, oh yeah, Jonathan's a friend of mine. Da, 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 da. He's like, shut up, he is not. And I'm just like, bro, Jonathan just sent me an email the other day, wanted to know if I wanted to write a story in the Joe Ledger universe. He goes, Joe Ledger is one of my favorite books ever, and I'm just like, hang on. So I reached out to Jonathan Mayberry. I'm like, Jonathan, because Jonathan asked me to do the story, and I'm like, I never read the series. So I said, look, I never read the series. But I have a friend who's a huge fan. Can I just write the story with him? And he's like, oh yeah, sure. As long as the story got your name on it, we're good. So me and Wayne start writing it. Then later, Jonathan reaches out like, by the way, who's your friend? And I'm like, Wayne Brady. And I still have the email because the email just one word. It just goes, what? And I'm just like, yeah, yeah. And so that was our first story, and then we it just had the story, and I literally I think back on my career, and I even and I'm just like, all right, so let me get this straight. Me and Wayne Brady are writing a story for Stephen King. Okay, okay, all right, that's my life now. Um, and so we just had a story, so we did a story for him in the because he had a collection, an anthology that all take place in the world of The Stand.
Hmm.
But I already told you how I approach these stories. What's the blackest thing I can do in your world? And so we pitched the idea of doing a Mother Abigail story. I distinctly remember the editors going, "Oh, rules of the anthologies, you can't use any of the actual original characters in the book." And we're like, "All right, well, I guess we'll come up with a plan B." And they were like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, wait a second. No, we really like your idea, so we're gonna go see if Steve will give us permission." I hope you caught that, by the way. If
Yeah.
Steve, if Steve will give them permission.
Yeah, you're on that. Okay, you're on that level
Yeah, you're
now.
on that level. He's like Mr. King, and I still can't even make eye contact when I say the name, right? So like, okay, you go check with Steve and let us know if that works. And so I was already planning on plan B. It was like, all right, this ain't gonna fly. Da, da, da. So we were already working on our plan B when they came back. Like Steve said, there was no one he trusts more with that character than the two of you.
Oh.
And we're like, oh, okay. So we did that story. Um, and then while all that was going on, we ended up selling the original story, the original thing that we wanted to work on, which was Wayne had this idea. Um, it's a time travel novel. It's about a father and son. The son. Wait, can I talk about this? Yeah, no, I can talk about this. What am I talking about? Yeah, yeah. The
I was
announcement's been
about
made
like,
and
look, don't
everything.
get me in trouble. I don't get
Right, I know. I'm like,
in
oh man, I know. I've been known to. Oh, never mind. Anyway, I've been known to run my mouth. I'll just say that. Um, but it's about a father and son, and the son, a black father and son, and the son has been disappeared by a corrupt sheriff in a small town, and so the father's off looking for him. And so but turns out the jail that they throw him into is actually a portal.
trouble.
And so the son's been transported back to a 1950s prison farm.
Wow.
So it's a father and son, a father and son, father looking for his son trying to get out of where he's at. Sci-fi thriller, basically.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. Because when you're working in that arena,
Mhm.
um, and I know that when Hollywood is kind of a hurry up and wait type situation. Are any of these ideals being looked at as far as chopped around as screenplays and um your people call my people type
Yeah,
situation.
yeah. We've had a couple meetings. We've had a couple meetings. Um, yeah. Uh, and I don't care what happens in result of the end of this meeting, but there we did take a meeting, and the meeting was me, Wayne Brady, and Jordan Peele
Ah,
in person, ostensibly to pitch this book, and this was before the book had sold, even. But it's just like, all right, since it's Herb and wait, here's the idea. We'll eventually sell it, so this could be a way of jumping on things beforehand.
okay, that's great.
So right, um, but we are 45 minutes into this meeting, and spoilers, by the way. Me, Wayne, Jordan Peele. At the end of the day, we're just three black nerds. That's all we are. Three black nerds. Because 45 minutes into the meeting, I have to have a check with myself and just, Maurice, I need you to think about where you are right now in your life. You are yelling at the top of your lungs at Wayne Brady and Jordan Peele about how much you hate time travel stories. And they are shouting at you about their love of time travel stories. This is your life. Oh,
But
so yeah, so
that's when you know that everything's working out. And,
everything's working out.
that
Uh,
to me is like would be like the ultimate situation because
yeah,
you're all vibing, you're on that level and stuff like that, and
yeah,
that happens and stuff. Because in the end, these are people that have like great positions, done some great things, but they're
yeah.
people.
They are people. They are
Y'all are
people.
nerds hanging out.
And then that's all it was. Like we didn't, it's like we had an hour plus long meeting. It wasn't even supposed to be over an hour. But it wasn't 45 minutes. We were 45 minutes before we even got to the pitch because the first 45 minutes is us just being nerds. What are you into? Da 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 da. 45 minutes of just bonding as nerds. And I'm just like, I can't ask for anything but more than that.
That's excellent,
That's it.
man. That's excellent.
Right.
Now, there's a question I should have asked you this earlier.
Hmm.
I want to go back and ask you this question, and
Okay.
probably end up wrapping things up in a minute because we could talk
Right. By the
all
way,
day.
if you ask me this question, this is question number 11.
Okay, okay. This is the last question. Question
Right.
number 11.
I've been keeping track. I got it right here. Keeping track.
Anybody I interview in the future, don't do that. But anyway, um, what which writer do you feel has had the biggest influence on you as
Mm,
a writer? Um,
mm.
when you think about writers, the people that you've read, which one do you think would probably either set the bar or wrote the blueprint or influence you in a way that that's the person that you think about when you write or something like that.
Ooh, that's all right. While I think about that, I'm gonna add a PS to our story, the Wayne story, by the way.
Okay.
Um, because before we started rolling, you'd ask me about the
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
This
On
is
top of
a
this.
this is a different look for me. This is the look of in real time when I'm up on a deadline and when I'm in that last month coming up against a deadline. This is like my early warning system. I let it start growing out to let my people know it's like okay, I'm on deadline and I'm maybe a little on the manic side because I'm up against it.
Okay.
Um, and I say that because tomorrow I'll be shaving this off because 4 hours ago I turned in me and Wayne's book.
And being a
So
writer, I know how good it feels to
I am.
finish
That's
to
why
finish a manuscript.
when I say you caught me on a good day at a good time, I was just like I had hit send, and I've just been like, oh yes, woo, free at last, or well, free for now, I should say. Um. So yeah, so that's a That's kind of fueling me at the moment. Um, but but in your question, I get to cheat because you have three different questions built into that. Who is the influence? Who's the bar? Who's the blueprint?
Hmm.
Um, let's see. The blueprint is Octavia Butler.
Okay.
Because she's Afrofuturism as story and practice.
Hmm.
So she's the blueprint. Who's the influence? That would be Walter Mosley.
Okay.
In fact, Walter Mosley is why I write sci-fi at all.
Oh.
And so, like I said, I spent most of my time as a horror writer. And at this point, I'm still wrestling with the whole idea of like, how do I incorporate elements of my faith into my work? Um, but I'm also thinking through how do I incorporate what it means to be black into my work and everything.
A lot of people haven't read any of his science fiction.
And see, that's when I discovered his collection, and it's called Futureland.
Yeah. Now I haven't read The Future, but I read Blue Light,
Okay, yeah, 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 yeah.
and Blue Light just blew blew
Right,
me away.
right. And so I read Futureland, and it's I think it's like nine interconnected short stories,
Okay.
and it's all and it's not described as a black book, and you don't and at no point do they say it's a black sci-fi da da da. It's just a sci-fi novel because he's like, no, 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 my world is default black. I ain't got to say it's black nothing.
Mhm.
You just in my world now.
Yep.
Oh, that's the influence. That's the
Yep.
influence.
Hmm.
And so that became so that wove its way all the way into all my work. In fact, it was I did a keynote speech last year at the Black Caucus of the American Library Association, and it was me and the other keynote speaker was Walter Mosley.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
I actually got to meet my hero in person,
That's awesome.
and be able to tell him how much he has influenced me as an author. Um,
Oh man,
so
I know that was excellent.
oh man, oh man, it was one of my big highlights right there. Um, but the bar. Oh, and I guess that other influence that I have two influence because it's Walter Mosley and it's N.K. Jemisin.
Okay. Hmm.
Those two are my those are my influences. In fact, almost directly since beginning Astro Black with a character in second person. You want to talk influence? That goes right straight back to N.K. Jemisin and some of her work,
Hmm. It does. Yeah.
right? So those two would be the influence, but the bar is Toni Morrison.
Yeah.
Toni Morrison is my
Yeah.
bar for where I want to be, and as a writer, as a creative. Um, yeah, that's the bar for me.
That's a great collection of authors right there. That really is. I mean, you can't if you had to set goals,
Right.
if you're the kind of person to set goals, those are great goals to set.
Yep.
I'm telling you. I mean,
Right.
but hey, man, you and I can go all night.
We absolutely can.
And since
I
you
warned my
told me,
wife in
I've asked
advance. I was
my
like,
11 questions now. So
right,
anything else will be bonuses. Uh,
right, right.
but if I'm allowed, I'm not. This is not going to be a question. This is going to be a statement.
Okay.
So,
A statement I may respond to.
yeah, a statement you can respond to.
Okay.
Um, so what's well, that's a question. Um, um, tell us what's going on, what's coming up for you,
Mm,
as far as creativity, authors, publishing, and different things like that.
okay.
What should we
So
be looking out for?
we're looking out for. So let's see. So coming up, obviously, well, Breath of Oblivion it comes out in paperback next month, and that leads up to A City Dreaming coming out in May in hardcover. So that's first big thing. Um, excuse me. Next up, Well, obviously, I run two conferences. So I do MoCon and I do the Writer Symposium for Gen Con. So those will be my summer activities. And then let's see, I'm sure I got some short stories coming out. Uh, I always got short stories coming out, but that leads into the other big projects. So Breath of Oblivion paperback, A City Dreaming in hardcover in May, and then in October, if everything comes together right, me and Dr. Berg are editing an anthology together.
Okay.
And it's a sort of like a historical survey of Black horror, Black literary horror.
Okay.
And so we were saying, what are some of the early stories, and just sort of like, hey, what are some of the stories that have been that we could call the canon of Black horror, uh, uh, and but then also what does the future look like? So right now we have an open call going right now, so that we can see who are the up and coming writers, who are the ones who can take us into the future of Black horror. So we really want to just run the spectrum. We want to survey. Here's the and then also put all of this in historical context. As you asked me that question about how has the scene changed,
Hmm.
well, we will tell you. Here's what the scene looked like when we published, and now you can see how it's changed. So
That's I'm looking forward to all that. I mean, so how does somebody find you? How do we keep track with Maurice Broaddus to know so we can, chase you down and
gotcha.
show up at all your
Right.
stuff?
I got you. I got you. So all my socials are the same. It's always Maurice Broaddus. And then in fact, right now my wife is updating the website as we speak, so we can stay current. And she is holding me accountable to make sure that I'm much more on top of my website. And by me being on top of it, she has just taken it over. Because she's like, oh
Basically,
no, I've seen how
basically
I've seen
like you
right.
ain't gonna do this.
You already know. She's like,
Yeah,
no, no, I've
I've
seen
had
your
that
effort.
conversation before.
Oh yeah, yeah, you already know. You already know. But for moving forward, the website will be updated. You'll be able to see where I'll be and what's coming out all on mauricebroaddus.com.
Okay. Well, Maurice, hey, thank you for taking some time and hanging out with us. Thank you for your contributions that you've done, MV Media Way, Griots or Space Funk,
Yeah.
always happy to have you participate and hang out with us a
Yeah.
little bit and stuff,
Brother, you know my doors are always open for you. You already know.
And one day I'm going to show up in Indianapolis.
One day, look here. I'm gonna keep inviting you. I'm gonna keep inviting you. We're gonna get you out here. We're
Yeah,
gonna get you out here.
yeah. I'm just going to jump in a car and drive up there and just show up one
Perfect. Perfect. We'll have you.
So everybody, thank y'all for checking out another episode of 11 Questions with Maurice Broaddus, and stay tuned for our next interview. Y'all take care.
All
Peace.
right, take care now. Peace.